Clap.
Two claps.
I've clapped everywhere.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Well, welcome back to another episode of
A Filmmaker's Brain. Yeah, we can actually say that together now.
Wow,
Cool.
That's great. Well, this week we're talking about You Were Never Really Here.
Which actually was because of the fact that you were starting to think about that after last week's film.
Yeah, well, when she told me, I want to talk about Wish I Was Here, I was like,
You were never really here.
that really sounds like You Were Never Really Here.
Yeah.
Which is like an amazing movie for like it's really down that line.
And very different from last week's.
Yeah, super different. And you can clearly see like how we have like different ways of like what kind of movie we like.
Yeah.
But it's like I really enjoy
Oh,
your
hey,
type
you haven't
of
seen anything yet. Wait until I bring Scarface to this table.
Wait, you want to talk about Scarface? Brian De Palma? What? I'm down.
We're getting
I'm
there.
Down.
We're
I'm
getting there.
down. Wait, do you actually like
I love Scarface.
Oh my
I'm grown
God.
up with Scarface.
Aww. It's like I'm getting to know this
My
other
father-
side of you.
My father showed me Scarface when I was like 9.
Oh my God, perfect dad.
I'm standing there like, hey, Manolo, shoot that piece of shit. When I'm like 9, and all of my friends like,
You want a piece of me?
who are you? Like, let's get organized. Yeah, I want to do the Al Pacino version, of course, but
Great.
we're getting there.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're
well,
getting there.
sorry, get back to your
Amazing,
thing.
Amazing stuff. You Were Never Really Here.
Yeah.
2017 by Lynne Ramsay.
Mm-hmm.
Follows Joe, which is a veteran
Yeah.
with a lot of PTSD that we go through with him.
Deep
And
shit.
he's got like a lot of trauma
Yes.
from like his childhood and from the war and stuff like that. And it manifested itself to his career, like his underground career, where he's basically a hired gun, finding missing girls
Yeah.
and being like super brutal to the people that kidnap them.
Yeah.
Which I really find like is amazing because it shows that, you know, that that missing part of him that he wants to feel like he's protecting
Yeah.
someone. And yeah, we're gonna
That's
get
actually
into
a
that.
really cool storyline, and you're describing it in a very thoroughly way, because this was my first time seeing this movie, and I felt afterwards as if, hey, I would have to see this movie like 3 more times
Yeah,
to even
right?
get half of that, because there are so many things to get attached to in this movie.
Lynne Ramsay, she's so good.
Yeah.
Like it's there's so much I want to talk about just because like her way of making movies is so good.
Have you seen anything else about her before?
We need to talk about Kevin.
Yeah.
Is another movie, but I haven't seen it.
I read the book.
Yeah. So and she's really picky.
Yeah.
With what she works with. But
Mhm.
like it's really exciting to see a female filmmaker make a movie like this, because like when you talk about this type of movie, you think about Taxi Driver, you think about like Deer Hunter, you think a lot about like movies made by like male directors showing a lot of, you know, violence against females, you know.
Yeah.
And then you have this movie which is like,
you get a different point of view, because it's actually how a woman describes women that are in danger.
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
That's a really, really good point.
Because that makes the entire... that was one of the things I thought about in the movie, that, we're not making the women look like they're looking vulnerable. Yeah, they're looking vulnerable, but they're not victims in the same way that men wants to portray women in danger.
Yeah, maybe not. That's true. But like in the same time, he's also taking this.
Yeah, he's
the
hero.
Very
Sure.
macho. Well, he's actually not. That's the problem. Like in the end.
Yeah.
Well, like his whole life. Well,
he's supposed to be the hero.
Yeah. Well, he's basically. You know, he's showing a lot of you know, he's making himself suffer
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, and like he's on the just, you know, he's just gonna jump in whenever, he's gonna kill himself whenever, but what's holding him back is that his mother is still alive and he's taking care of her.
He's needed.
Yeah. The feeling of being needed.
Yeah.
Because he like, I think like the thing with
that's the only thing
father,
he's chasing, actually.
Yeah.
Because if there wasn't something holding him back, then he would be dead because he knows how to do it. And that's also like, that's a huge problematic situation, because a lot of these like military veterans, they come back and they suffer from PTSD, they suffer from like psychological diagnoses, and everything is super weird to reattached into society. And they don't find their way in the new thing that is society to them when they come back, and a lot of them suffer, and a lot of them suffer as much as not going back to work or finding criminal careers or like readjusting in the wrong ways or whatever. And I think this is a very, very important portraying of that, because we don't talk a lot about that. Like, okay, now you and I from Sweden, we're not
really attached
we're not as attached to the subject, but I'm also half American, and I've met a lot of reattached veterans coming back from war or coming back from like really sore places, and they're not all doing very well. So this is also a very, very big subject to take up in a movie.
Yeah, and it's showing like trauma, because it's basically trauma. PTSD is like you're living with this past trauma that won't let go.
Yeah. Right?
And this movie really visualizes trauma in such a beautiful way. Yeah. And I have like a nice, you know, add in here.
Go ahead.
In how Joaquin Phoenix prepared for this role. The director gave him a recording of firework to listen to, and the idea was that he would listen to this like sound of constant firework
so many times that it becomes horrible.
Yeah, that it becomes like, you know, this thought that will never leave you.
Yeah.
And just like I'm getting like, it's just so beautiful in the way that, you know, trauma is that thought that you won't, like, oh, you think you're okay, like, here you go, you know. Yeah. You're not, it's never gonna leave you.
But that's funny, because we actually used that, like, you and I, like, when we did this movie back in April this year, Vi brinner, that doesn't have an American title like yet.
We fire.
We burn, but we don't know yet. But for the preparations of this movie, where I acted towards a really talented actress, Evelina Benedicts, we both had to go into a very dark place for the like more explicit scenes, and we both took like music from our teenage years that used to make us feel like shit, and we would like raise the volume up so high, and we would listen to this right before going into this, and both of us would immediately go into a very, very dark place before starting acting towards each other.
Yeah, I noticed that, and like how you guys were like pacing in the hallway, and, you know, just, okay, I need like 5 minutes or something before the shoot. And I thought it was beautiful, because like it wasn't my idea. I didn't tell you like to do that. And just the way that I see, you know, just the courage in going back into that place, and like listening to those songs, because songs can have like a really powerful impact, connection to the like that period of time that you had with those horrible horrible ideas or like the trauma or stuff like that. But I thought it was really cool. Yeah,
but I just wanted to connect. Of course, it's not the exact same thing, but I like the fact that preparing for something through sound, because sound we have so many things, like as humans, we have so many things that we are impacted by or touched by or whatever, and it's not just smells, it's not just what we see, it's a lot about what we hear. And especially if we like put our headphones on and close in for this, it's the same thing. It's like suddenly we're in a totally different place just because we listened to that song or that sound we heard so many times that's now traumatizing. I can't hear like loud sounds. Like if I drop something to the floor and it's heavy, I immediately go like this because I guess it's from trauma of some kind, but it's like a typical thing also that you realize how much it's impacting you.
Yeah, and it's like trauma and stuff like that. It's really personal.
Yeah.
You can't really describe the feeling of, being sad or like being depressed or like having something happen to your life.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's really beautiful that Lynn chose to visualize the trauma a lot instead of verbalizing it.
Yeah.
And just like it was like another thought that I had, like how realistic this movie is.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's really realistic, but it also it's filmed in a way that might be like a more of a fantasy size.
It's not very expositional, and that's what I liked as well, because a lot of these movies tend to be very much through the dialogue. It tend to be that they tell too much, but this was very visual, and it's not very common for, like, these movies often crave a lot of dialogue for, or they think they do, for the audience to understand. And to admit, I did not understand everything, and I would like to watch this again just to grasp it again. But also, like, I liked more that it was visual and that it craves more of me as a viewer than if it would tell me everything verbally.
It feels almost like respectful.
Yeah, I don't feel stupid.
Yeah, it's like paying the respect for the people that went through trauma.
Yeah,
like just not okay. You can tell it. Yeah, sure. He can say that he went through those shit.
But if you feel it, you succeeded.
If you feel it with them, or like you feel the how uncomfortable it must be, or like how bad, how like intense it is to be living inside his mind. Yeah, and like how far gone he almost is. It's really respectful in that way. But what do you feel that you missed out? If you could, like, is there something that you feel?
I don't think I can put my finger to it. No. I rather think that I actually spoke to Jonas about this, and I said that a lot of the things that I didn't feel that I grasped was about everything was told through pictures, and everything was very visual, and everything was very visually creative. Like the photo in this movie is insane in so many different scenes, and it made me get very intense, very intensely into it. So sometimes I feel as if I dropped what was happening just because I was watching the visual parts too much. Suddenly I felt myself lost in what's happening right now. I didn't see that. How did he get there? Like, but because it was intense. And I guess that's also a good thing because it means it dragged me in. But well, so I guess I want to see it again, not because I missed things, but because I need to see more things, basically.
Because I've heard that there's people that maybe not misunderstood, but their experience of the ending was that they found it like a bit like not cliche, but like a bit too abstract.
It's kind of open.
Yeah, it's like open to, but like why did he laugh and why did he like, they felt it was like a bit weird. Yeah. But like, how did you, think about it?
Ending was I can't actually say too much about the ending because that's also one of these things. It's like you said, I felt if I'm going to say something about the ending, it is that it was kind of open. Yeah. And I want to see that again too because there are things that I'm not done with this movie. It's basically like I had a conversation and I didn't grasp everything that the other person was saying, and I'm trying to pick up the pieces, but I don't have everything. So yeah, I mean, this is a very well made movie, but it's so well made that
it's really good.
One view is not enough.
Yeah.
And that's a really good grade, basically.
Yeah. And you know, I was, when I was thinking about like the thoughts and ideas that I wanted to take up in this pod, I thought about how many of them was purely about the story and like what it means and stuff like that, and how little it was about the technicalities. And that thought just alone made me think about like a really good movie. Like you want it to make you think more about the details of the story and like what did that mean, and like that idea, what does it mean for life, and like how does life work, and less about like, yeah, like, you know, from our perspective.
I think it depends on who you are as a viewer and what you want out of a movie, because I get what you're saying, but I think it's too wide to say that, because you will have a different angle to every movie. Like when Jonas and I watch movies, sometimes I tease him by saying good sound, because I know that he's interested in like everything that's sound design, and he goes, yeah, that's right, and I'm teasing him about, wonder if this is really a lion or it's a hairdryer, or like, you know, like kidding around. And as a viewer for myself, I'm very much about the story, since I'm mainly into script writing. But at the same time, like when I see a really good set dressing or something that's like a room that's built in studio, I'm like, what the hell? And I can go into that so hard that I suddenly, shit, where did the movie go? I'm here. You know?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with that we are a part of this. Or not, like, maybe not yet, but you know what I mean? Like, we are like really infused with the industry and with the filmmaking process. That we have another type of thought process. You know, and just for me at least, if I only think about like the story, and then be like, wow, that movie was amazing, even if I have those thoughts about like, whoa, that picture is so dope, you know, in the ending, after the movie's done, the only thing I want to talk about is like, does, you know, that movie really shows why life sucks, you know? Or something like that. Just going beyond. And I think with this movie at least, or with this type of movies that are really good in that way, and super realistic, all I want to talk about is basically has to do with the story itself.
But and I get what you're saying, and especially like with these kind of movies, we can stuck to that in some sort of way. You're going to laugh so hard about this, but like, I have a movie that I will probably bring up later this year when we have our October month, which will probably be a lot of horror /
Halloween.
Ish. And the movie that I will want to talk about, which you will laugh about because this is Jonas kind of thing, it's Hereditary.
Oh, okay.
And
sure thing.
Because in Hereditary, they are so into the set for bringing the movie forward. They built a lot of that house. Like, I think they built the entire house, or the inside at least.
I
think
Jonas told me something about that.
Yeah, he told me about that.
Was built, and then they shot like the outside pictures.
Somewhere else. Because that's what I wanted to aim at, especially like you see a movie growing from the fact that it's in the right setting. We're getting back to that. Not now. October. Watch that. But
come back later.
But that's what I wanted to aim at. In this movie, you don't, like, the house doesn't matter that much. The places doesn't matter that much, because it's about the main character's development through the story and where he's going and who he's picking up. It doesn't matter that his mother's house is painted green or whatever, because you don't care that much about that. So like you said, you will follow a story and you will say, hey, this was a good movie because the story was good. And it's like, yeah, and the setting didn't matter that much, but the sound did, and the light did, and this did, but this didn't matter as much. Like,
or you might be like, yeah, the set design was that good that I didn't think about it.
Yeah, that too. But really it could also
natural.
be and that's such a fine line, but because it could be so good you didn't think about it sticking out or whatever, but it could also be so bad you did not think about it.
I might be.
Because you can think something can be bad and you will think about it as bad, but it can also be bad as in I didn't care.
Yeah, I guess.
So we will have this discussion so many times in the, like, I'm very critical.
And the set design in here is amazing and it's perfect and
you're not thinking about
you're not thinking about it at all. I think we had like a banana.
I think this is manipulation.
In the corner somewhere. So another point that I wanted to discuss was, okay, so this movie it really shows that it has a lot of inspiration from Taxi Driver. Okay. And when talking about Taxi Driver, you talk about violence in movies. And how is violence showed? Why do you show violence? Yeah. And I don't remember who said this, but there was like a really big director that said, when I think about violence in movies, the best example, the most cinematic example is Taxi Driver. Okay. And just like what the actual violence means for the film. Yeah. Right? This movie, right? Taking inspiration from Taxi Driver, does something really, really interesting with how they show the violence. Yeah. You never see the violence. No. You see the violence and happening. You hear the violence. Happening through something. Yeah. So once you see it through the mirror in the ceiling, and the other time you actually see it is through the security cams.
It's third vision watching.
Yeah. Which is like super interesting, and I wanted to see like your take on why.
I think this is a really creative way of showing something, because you make the violence a part of something, but it's not the main part. And I think this also could have to do with the fact that it's a woman who directed this, because it's so... And if you want to talk about cliches, talk about male directors who really want to show violence the most violent way. And there's being blood, and there's being weapons, and there's being knives, and everything being like super into your face. And I think that here comes a woman saying the violence is needable for the story, but do we really have to shove it up people's faces? No, it will be much more powerful for you to watch it from afar, because it also makes you a part of the story as a viewer. It's like you're in the corner watching this happen, or you look up and you see through the mirror what's happening back there, or something like that. I feel as a part of what's happening in a totally different way, because you're not shoving the violence up my face.
Really interesting that you mentioned the focus. You know, on where the focus is. Yeah. Reading a bit of what people like thinks about the movie and stuff like that. Something came up where they were talking about that she basically did this to really put the finger down on what's the movie's focused on, and it's not about whatever is happening in the movie. No. Right. It's. Yeah. He's like going around killing people and stuff like that, but it's not about that. No. It's not about the killings. It's not about the main storyline. No. It's about the actual character and what goes inside his mind. Yeah. And like I really feel that in how a lot of pictures are shown. Yeah. And like where he is almost like not important in the picture, and like, you know, outside what's going on.
I think the director is making the viewer smart in this movie, because she lets us figure things out before they happen.
Okay.
Like, there's this scene where he comes in through a door and there's a knife to the right, and he doesn't immediately see the knife, but we get to see the knife first, and then he picks it up, and he picks it up really slowly so that we see that, now he's in line with us. We saw that first. Now he's seeing that.
Yeah.
So we are thinking to ourselves, grab the knife, and he goes, I'm grabbing the knife. You know,
Yeah.
like, she's making us smart, and she's making us a part of the story in a way that I really like about these movies, because I can sometimes feel that these movies are not, they're interesting in the beginning and then they fade out for me because they're just the same way all through. It doesn't really have a climax. It doesn't really have a point of no return or like a classic script writing line or whatever.
Like red line, you mean?
No, but like in script writing we have a couple of things that needs to happen for it to be a classical
script.
Yeah,
screenplay.
but not it's not even a classical screenplay. It's like different genres have different mallar. Yeah.
Malls.
Nope,
you know,
nope,
shopping
nope,
malls.
no,
Big shopping malls.
No, that's not it.
Well,
but yeah,
themes. Or,
yeah, like basically they have like skeletons for a story.
Okay, yeah.
And a lot of these movies have they fade out for me because they don't follow things, so they don't go up and down. They just go like this the same time. But this story is dragging me in, and it's like suddenly I'm like, oh shit. Oh no, it's fine. Shit. It's fine. Like, and that makes me much more interested in watching it to the end and still being inside of it.
Let's grab the bag and
wrap it up.
Close it up.
You want to wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up, and with like closing words from us. I really enjoyed this movie, and I think it's like it's a masterpiece in its own.
Yeah.
And what really gives this movie an extra like punch, Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
And we haven't like even discussed
this guy,
how good he is, but
we gotta have a total episode that's just about good actors and why. Sure.
And like, just to put this in like perspective, this movie was made 2 years before
the Joker.
I'm just saying, like, that's crazy. The only the physical change alone.
But final note on that as well. I watched Johnny Cash when I was a child, like the movie about Johnny Cash, and that's also Joaquin Phoenix, and he's great in that role as well. So it's also like people that are saying right now that, oh my god, Joaquin Phoenix is getting really good. No, he was always good.
Yeah, he's actually like, for me right now, he's the best.
Yeah, but I mean I saw that movie when I was like 8 or 10 or whatever, and I've been like, when people say that, I'm like, did you miss this guy's career? Are you stupid?
Well, I want to go back and watch all the...
We're gonna do that. We're getting back there. Actually. We're doing the Johnny Cash film soon. I'm telling you. We're never gonna end this pod. I have so many movies. Oh my god.
That's just great.
But let's wrap up for today, and next week who are we fooling? We're going to be in the same clothes.
Yeah.
Right after this, we're actually shooting the podcast for The Little Prince, which is a French animated movie that we're talking about next week.